Welcome to Fantastic Vision. Please subscribe us before you watch today's video. The implementation of the chip rules triggered a series of chain reactions, and no company in the supply chain was spared. In 2022 alone, the cumulative market value of the U.S. chip industry has evaporated by more than $1.5 trillion, and tens of thousands of high-paying jobs have also been lost. Layoffs are still intensifying. TSMC, Samsung and other companies have faced crises one after another. According to news from Taiwan media, TSMC has cut off 40% of EUV lithography machine orders, which means that the commissioning of new factories will be delayed. After China launched a review of Micron, Biden put pressure on Samsung and SK Hynix not to fill the vacancy in the Chinese market. But it is clear that the effect of hegemonism is minimal. South Korea has made it clear that it will not give up the Chinese market, and that Alstom-style tragedy will not happen again. Driven by Huawei, Chinese companies have already regarded independent research and development as a belief. The technologies monopolized by Europe and the United States have been broken one after another, completely breaking the American theory of science without borders. The Biden team's restrictions on Chinese companies have not ended. Under the 4 rounds of suppression, 639 Chinese companies have been included in the Entity List. Authorization: the stricter the restrictions, the more flustered the United States is, and Chinese companies have verified this. According to customs statistics, the number of domestically imported chips in the first quarter of 2023 is 108.2 billion. A decrease of 32.1 billion compared to last year. Adding in the 97 billion less imported chips in 2022, the cumulative number is 129.1 billion. The media bluntly said, "SMIC is the big winner." The persistence of the Biden team. Starting from the second quarter of 2021, China has begun to reduce the import of chips, and the number of imported chips in the first quarter of 2022 has dropped by 21%. This trend has a direct impact on the U.S. chip industry and TSMC. After losing the Chinese market, facing huge economic losses, it can only rely on layoffs to maintain normal operations. China is one of the largest chip purchasing countries in the world, accumulatively consuming more than 70% of the world's chip share. The reduction of chip imports has affected the production and export of U.S. chip manufacturers, resulting in a great compression of the market share and profits of U.S. chip manufacturers. For TSMC, although China's reduction in imports will not directly affect TSMC's business, if other countries' chip purchases also decline, it will lead to a reduction in the supply of the global chip market, which in turn will affect TSMC's customer demand and sales. In other words, if the United States continues to adopt export control measures against China, TSMC's life is doomed to be difficult. After the announcement of the tripartite agreement between the United States, Japan and the Netherlands announced that it would only allow ASML to ship 1980Di lithography equipment, which can only support 38 nanometers chip manufacturing. Soon Japan also officially announced that it will restrict 23-core equipment from being shipped to China. The purpose is to fully lock China's 14 nanometers process, thereby restoring the cell hegemony of chips. But it is clear that the Biden team is overly idealistic. Under the import and export restrictions, U.S. companies such as Qualcomm, Intel, and Nvidia have suffered heavy losses. In order to resume shipments in the Chinese market, they have repeatedly criticized the United States in public. In March, China at the Economic Recovery Summit held, many U.S. companies obtained commitments from the Chinese market, and it will be very difficult to continue implementing the chip rules. And TSMC is also in crisis. At first, many people thought that it was forced to build a factory in the United States, but Zhang Zhongmo publicly stated, "Support the suppression of Chinese semiconductors." This also directly angered domestic companies. Completely he gave up all thoughts about TSMC and Western companies, and made every effort to speed up the construction of an independent industrial chain. Nowadays, China's semiconductor market can be described as the 100 flowers contend. Huawei has realized the localization of 14 nanometers EDA design software, and the 7 national defense companies have successively broken through the core technology of EUV lithography machines. It was built, and this time the winner is clearly SMIC. SMIC is the biggest winner. While global manufacturers are reducing capital expenditures, SMIC has gathered hundreds of billions of funds to continuously expand production capacity and build supply chains in major cities such as Shanghai, Tianjin, and Shenzhen. The new fab is expected to be put into operation in 2024. Using it, the monthly production capacity will exceed 680 million chips under full-speed operation. Since China has been able to cut orders for 129.1 billion chips since 2022, SMIC naturally has a lot of credit. Although the current domestic chips are mainly concentrated in the low-end field, they have been able to meet more than 80% of domestic demand. With the rise of emerging industries such as new energy vehicles and the Internet, future chip demand will mainly focus on 14 nanometers and above technologies. This is an opportunity for SMIC. As long as it accumulates enough funds, it will be able to own more with a large amount of research and development funds. It is just around the corner to break through the bottleneck of the 7 nanometers high-end process. Top manufacturers, including TSMC, are currently focusing on mature processes such as 28 nanometers, but the betrayal of the Chinese market is obviously not over so soon, so SMIC may become the only winner. What do you guys think?